This is the GODOX UL150 Mark II Bi, and there are 3 reasons I think this is an exceptional light. Let me tell you what they are. I've been using this for a few weeks now. Shot a couple of YouTube videos using this as my key light. I've also been testing it out a lot to make this video. GODOX has, I think, 3 series of COB or chip on board style lights. The SL, which is kind of the budget base level light. The VL, which is more professional-ish, I guess. And then the UL, which are fanless. So these lights are completely silent. This is about probably a third bigger than the VL150. And that's just because this is just a large heat sink. And that's the first reason that I think this is an exceptional light, is that it's completely silent. I've been using the SL100 as my key light since getting it because it's bicolor, just like this one, but it has a fan in it and you can't adjust the fan curve, you can't turn it off. And I have a really small space. So anytime I'm using an external microphone, in particular like a shotgun microphone, or even probably this lav mic, you can pick up that fan noise, something I always have to deal with. You're gonna use this as a key light, then you don't have to worry about audio. The second reason is the build quality on this light and the control box in particular are next level for GODOX. In comparison to the VL150, and I can just kind of show you the control box here, the difference is night and day. Just look at this little lanyard here. This is just like this clear plastic versus this massive braided like 550 cord lanyard. This is so much bigger because it has the power brick built into it, where this has a separate power brick, so you have one fewer thing to wrangle, one less cable that needs to get attached with the UL150 versus the VL series. The connections, the cabling themselves are so much better. I'm just gonna turn this off real quick. All of the cables, all the connections are locking connections. And just the cables themselves are really thick, robust feeling. They're all really long, I think at least 15 feet long. So you're not gonna have any trouble running this thing up on, a big stand and getting it high up in the air, or mounting it or rigging it somehow to the ceiling or the rafters or something. Because you can hear this thing click in here. And then this one as well, which goes into the light. They just have a latch here that you just press in and then pull out. But when you put it in, it locks in there and you can hear that latch. This can be powered with a V-mount battery or with 2 V-mount batteries. You can see this has 2 battery sleds on it. There are 2 styles of V-mount batteries, I think 14 volts or something, and then 28-ish or 27 or amps or watts, I don't know, I'm not an electrician. I only have 1 V-mount battery and it's the 14-volt battery. That will power this light at 50%. So you're gonna need probably 2 of those at least to power at 100%, but I don't know what the battery life is on those. But it's nice to be able to get some battery power out of this light in a pinch. It comes with this massive clamp, so this will clamp onto a light stand, C-stand, combo stand, whatever. And then it has this kind of V-mount style mounting point, which is screwed in onto the back of the control box. So that'll just slide in there and you can just clamp this right onto a stand, or you could just hang it from the stand if you want to with this little lanyard. GODOX's light fixtures themselves, like the VL150 that I have, is also really nice. I think the biggest step up in quality is just kind of the control box, the cables, and some of the other accessories that come with it, which isn't to say that there's anything wrong with this. This is also tremendously well built. It's a combo of metal and some really dense and solid plastics. There are no controls on the light, so everything is controlled via the control box. You can run DMX into here, so it's probably only gonna matter for big sound stages or road shows or something like that. But you can control it with an optional remote. You need the RC-A6 remote, I believe. It doesn't come with it, but you can also control it with the GODOX Light app, which is super handy, and I'll show you that a little bit here. It has a rosette-style locking mechanism to lock the angle in place. It's very durable, very strong, so you can put a massive softbox on here, and it should hold it no problem. And you can just see how big the yoke is on this thing. The third thing about this light that makes it exceptional in my opinion is the fact that it's a bicolor light. There is a daylight only version, which is going to be a little bit less expensive, or maybe a couple $100 less expensive. But in my opinion, if you can save up a little bit extra money, it's completely worth it to get the bicolor version. Having the adjustable color temperature is obviously way more flexible. So if you find yourself in a situation where you need to match existing lights that you can't turn off or you need to use for some reason, then you can dial this in to match. But it's also great to be able to have color contrast in your scene, which is why I was using the SL100ii as my key light. Oftentimes I'll just shoot during the day and we'll just have my lights set to 5600 Kelvin, but sometimes I'll wait until later in the day when the sun is going down, in which case I will change the key light and the camera white balance to 3200 Kelvin, and that will make the light coming from the sun much bluer. And it also make the backlight of the VL150 blue as well. It's an old filmmaking trick, you know? It's kind of like shorthand in movies for moonlight is typically rendered in movies as blue light for some reason, even though the moon is just reflected sunlight, so it should be the same white color, but or lack of color. As a 150 watt light, it is going to be bright enough to use as a key light in most situations. Really the only time that you might struggle using this as a key light is if you're trying to battle daylight. That's why they make, you know, 300 watt, 600 watt LEDs nowadays, because you really need a ton of output in order to compete with or really modify the light from the sun. So I'll give you an example of using both of these lights as key lights while also trying to expose for daylight. In that scenario, I had the UL150 and the VL150 maxed out at 100% brightness, shooting through a big softbox with 2 layers of diffusion on it. Here's an idea of the maximum output using the included reflector dish at various color temperatures. Keep an eye on the waveform and you can see that the light reaches its maximum output at about 5000 Kelvin. But it's not that big a difference below 5000 Kelvin. I've been using the app with the SL100ii. Now I've got 3 GODOX lights that are controllable with the app, and that's just amazing. The app is simple. Typically, you're just going to get brightness control, a brightness slider, and then a color temperature slider. I'm not going to go through all the effects, but you've got the standard ones like broken bulb, candle, fire, fireworks. Pretty cool stuff that can definitely come in handy if you do a lot of narrative kind of filmmaking or maybe commercials and stuff like that. I also have that RGB HSI light in the back, so I can just switch over to that and then adjust that, which is really cool. As for negatives, I don't really have any, except given how professional this feels, I wish that this came with a carrying case, because while I'm definitely going to be using this on YouTube videos from here on out, I would like to be able to take it on location to do professional shoots with if I ever do any ever again. I don't know. I don't have the ability to check the color accuracy of lights. GODOX lists this as like TLCI 97 and above and CRI 96 and above, I think, something like that. And you know, these days, all of these LED lights are getting really good, but accurately white balancing your camera is probably gonna go a long way to fixing any color cast that you might get anyway. And that's really gonna be an issue only if you're mixing and matching a lot of different types of lights. For sake of completeness, I threw in a high frame rate test just to make sure that there's not going to be any flickering or any rolling artifacts using this light in high frame rates. It's really something that I feel like GODOX has ironed out by now. That was an issue with the SL60 light from many years ago. As I suspected, there's no issue with this light in high frame rates. Well, in 120 frames and 240 frames per second. It's as high as I can go. I appreciate you watching and listening to me ramble about the GODOX UL150 Mark II ii. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. As always, thanks for watching, and maybe I'll see you in another video. Bye. This is the GODOX UL150ii Mark II, and I like. This is the GODOX UL150 Mark II ii.